Today's sponsor is a new shaving company called the House of Atlas. They gifted me one of their razors, and honestly, I am blown away. Not only does it look insanely sleek as it sits in my bathroom, but it also gives me a very close shave. With House of Atlas, I feel I have taken my hygiene routine to a whole new level. Let me tell you guys this. Shaving is no longer a chore. I now genuinely look forward to it. First off, the Atlas razor has stainless steel US-made blades, and they're spaced apart enough that it barely clogs. That means fewer stops to rinse and a faster shave. I've also been loving their precision shave cream because it seriously leaves my skin feeling soft. And if you want to pick one up in person, House of Atlas is available at Target stores nationwide. But for a limited time, I want to offer you 20% off site-wide. Plus, they're even going to include free shipping. Just go to houseofatlas.com. Use my code Chael at checkout. You got it when you check out. Say you got it from Chael. That's going to get you 20% off plus free shipping, anything on the site. Plus, House of Atlas is available at Target stores nationwide. I want you to visit houseofatlas.com, and I want you to do it today. If you want to make it even simpler, I've attached a link below. Matt Brown called Conor McGregor irrelevant. Now, are you guys listening to Matt Brown? I have told you 100 times. If you are MMA fans and you're looking for content, you got to hit that little subscribe button. You got to get Matt Brown. Matt Brown is such an interesting communicator, by the way, considering if you followed his career through The Ultimate Fighter where he didn't say 2 words. Literally, during that season, I'm not sure he spoke up 2 different times. He is so good, but he comes out. And the thing with Matt Brown is he's not a wimp. It's as simple as that. So he comes out and he says, Conor is irrelevant. Now, Conor hasn't fought in 5 years. Conor is not ranked. Conor does not have a weight class. Conor has shown up to more bare-knuckle events than he has MMA events. Like, yeah, that's true. He's irrelevant. There would be no way around that. But I must tell you, I'm not a hater towards Conor, and neither is Matt Brown. We all are just trying to learn and understand as we go. It really is true about MMA. And it's largely built around championships. Well, that is the key and that is the drive. And some promoters somewhere along the way, I mean, like if you follow historically, it used to be very important that amongst your city, your village, or even your tribe, that you had somebody that was good at fighting. Because if somebody from a different city, village, or tribe came, they're coming to take your stuff. They'll take your land, they'll take your life. Like, it was very important along the way that you had somebody that was good at fighting. And that somebody needed to train and lead other people. So now you've got multiple people that are good at fighting. I'm only sharing that because then you get to the 1800s, right? And the Queensberry rules start coming out. You get closer to the 1900s, and then Western, a more civilized form of boxing comes about. And then you get to the end of the 1900s and something called MMA comes about. But what are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? Why is this important? Like, if you lose a fight up until the 1800s, before they introduced Queensberries and they're doing sport-style fights, you would lose your life. You could lose your family's life. You will lose your land. You'll lose your food. They were coming in, right? It was very important. You were really fighting for something. Now, if you lose a fight, you lose a little prestige. You might lose a spot in the rankings. You might lose a little bit of money. But it's not the same thing. So some promoter somewhere needed to find a trinket. And at some point they threw a belt out there. And they had medals and they had trophies, and the NCAA still does trophies and the Olympic Games still does medals. But there is something different about a belt. I don't know why. I can't actually explain this phenomenon for you. I can just tell you, as somebody who dedicated his entire life to get that damn belt, and still feels a pain every single night for not having that belt, that it worked. That idea, and whoever came up with it, we don't know. You can talk to Teddy Atlas and Max Kellerman, like the greatest minds in combat, and historically, they actually can't trace it back to the first promoter that came up with the idea to put down a belt. We don't actually know. But that guy deserves a lot of credit. It is one heck of a thing that worked on a whole lot of boys and girls around the world that got him to dedicate and try to win. All right. So in MMA, when Matt Brown, this all ties back to what Matt Brown said. When Matt Brown says Conor is not relevant, what Matt Brown is speaking about is Conor has no contention. He has no claim. He has no reasonable argument towards any belt in existence. I see it the same way. I'm forced to see it the same way. He doesn't even have a weight class. He doesn't even have a license, for that matter. He cannot legally come to America right now per paperwork and compete. That can be fixed very quickly, but I'm just sharing with you. And then I get a phone call. I get a phone call from Mr. Madden. And he was just spitballing an idea. But he's a very loyal follower. And he watched the program yesterday. And he said, Chael, you're missing something. And he said, if you're trying to check boxes, and all we can do is guess, right? When we're sitting here talking about MMA and we're saying it has to do this and it has to do this and you can't do that, we're just trying to guess what the war room, meaning Dana, Mick, Sean, and Hunter, are going to say. That's all we're arguing. We're sitting here, you got to do this and you have to do this. We're just trying to guess what if eventually we're going to get the right answers. We just don't know. But it's fun. It's a very fun game. I could call Dana right now. I don't call because I don't want to know. I want to guess. I want to argue. I want to be with you guys. Here's what Madden tells me. He says, Chael, if you are contending that Conor McGregor cannot main event, Conor McGregor cannot fight at the White House because he cannot main event, and he cannot main event because it is not for a title. He said, you're forgetting. You're forgetting the BMF. And you're forgetting his history with Max Holloway. And I don't feel that is the direction they're going to go. But I get the point. I get the point. I was at and was able to participate in Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. And we had no idea it was going to be for the money belt until the press conference, which was 1 day before the weigh-in and 2 days before the fight. And it was a total scam, by the way. This thing was diamond encrusted, and they had like security guards around it because it was worth millions of dollars. When the show ended, the production where they brought this out, they got the security guards, and it's in the case, and this thing's all done. When the show ended, they left, and they left the belt. I found it. I found the belt. And I'm like, so I make a phone call. Like, should I just leave? Is somebody coming back for this? And they're like, oh, yeah, somebody will come grab it. The whole thing was a scam. The belt was for when I'm up with it and I'm touching it, it looked very beautiful. I would guess this thing somewhere around the neighborhood of $500. But for the story and for the way that it was presented, it was absolutely ridiculous, right? There is no such thing as the money belt. They didn't build this around. They brought it out at the absolute last minute, and then they strapped it around a guy. And it was a very important cap to the evening. And just to Mr. Madden's point. All right, you know what? I'm not calling him Mr. Madden anymore. To James's point. I told him I'd call him Mr. Madden. I've done it twice now. We're good. The deal's complete. To James's point, you could come in with a belt, guy. You could have a White House belt. The day the BMF belt came up, it's because there was a pay-per-view at Madison Square Garden, and it didn't feel right to cap the night off without a title, and so we came up with the BMF, and it turned out to be a massive success. The Rock showed up to put it around somebody's waist, the biggest star in all of Hollywood. Like, this thing really worked. And Dana said it's a one and done. And it's one of the few things that Dana's had to revisit and go, I had that wrong. Dana was wrong. The BMF is a huge deal, and we don't want it done at all. Not to mention it provides opportunity. Guys want a belt, they want a title so incredibly bad, and I'm just sharing with you, if Madison Square Garden was good enough to create something called BMF, where actual sports broadcasters have to use the acronym because they can't actually say baddest mother on TV, right? They can't even do it. If it was good enough for the Garden, you could have a White House belt. Now, I'm not telling you this is where we're going. I'm telling you that we do get very close-minded. And sometimes we lack the creativity, which is the reason we're not in the war room. But I don't think Conor versus Max is a bad idea. And I don't want to take this match from Chandler. I believe that it's Chandler's fight, but we've also moved that BMF belt around. Max went out there and fought and lost to Ilia Topuria, but kept the belt. Masvidal lost to Colby and was able to keep the belt, right? I mean, one thing about the belt is we decide and we do what we want. And to act like the BMF is off the table, regardless of who the opponent is, would be a lack of creativity by us. But to act as though a special belt for the White House is also off the table, that's just not true. And historically, and I'll just use the Mayweather-McGregor and the money belt as an example, there is a precedence. And I'm not predicting this for you. I'm just opening your mind to the idea of relevance as it pertains to belts. Yeah, Conor hasn't been in there for 5 years. It's true that he's irrelevant. To act as though Conor isn't perhaps the best fighter to ever do it, right? On his best night, the night he fought Eddie Alvarez, to act as though you've seen a better combat athlete than that is not true. And when you reach that level of success, you can rest on your laurels. And Conor does matter. And Conor is the sport's biggest draw. And I feel that the real lesson, in the 10 minutes and 45 seconds you've listened to me, the lesson I'm attempting to tell you is why we give the perception that this is about belts. It's not. It's about personalities. It's about fighters. It's about the specific athletes and your specific interest in those athletes. And that in and of itself, aside from the rankings, aside from the titles, and aside from anything else, that does give a person relevance. And if we look at it from that degree, Conor McGregor absolutely is relevant.